everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Space Cowboy here with another video for you guys here today, and it's time for Mock Draft Monday for this week. We're now in the month of April. Don't worry, this is not going to be an April Fool's draft whatsoever, but we're 3 weeks away from the beginning of the 2024 NFL Draft. Time is flying by. But what I want to do moving forward up until the 2024 NFL Draft is put the Cowboy hat on and think, how would the Cowboys front office attack this draft if it fell the way it did? So keep in mind, whatever picks that I do, I don't 100% agree with them, but it's something that I can see the Cowboys doing during the draft. So just keep that in mind. If you want to participate, go down into the comment section and put what you think the Cowboys will do in a 3-round mock draft and put what you would do. I'm going to insert some comments on how I think about the pick as well as what I would do if I were in the war room. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this 3-round mock draft.
And here comes the pick.
With the 24th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select
Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker, Texas A&M. Now, as we're getting closer to the 2024 NFL Draft, we as Cowboy fans have to start putting the Cowboy hats on and start to think, how would the front office approach this draft if it fell this way? In this particular scenario, a lot of the offensive linemen that we've fallen in love with during the process here in this draft season went before our pick. So if the Cowboys get wiped, what is the next solution? Now, if it were me, what I would personally do is trade back, get as much draft capital as possible, and then take the next best available player with that selection. Now, there is a possibility that the Cowboys just don't find a trade partner, or they're not interested in the offers that these teams are giving them, so they just stick and pick, which we'll go with that scenario for here. And that's where Edgerrin Cooper lands with the Cowboys because he's the best remaining player on the board given with how it fell. Now, for those that have been following the Mock Draft Monday series, know that I really like Edgerrin Cooper, and I know that the Cowboys have met with him at the Combine formally. He was a 30-day visit. And so he has strong connections to the Cowboys, number one. But number two, he's been going in the second round of these mock drafts that I've been doing. Now, fairly recently, we've been seeing him go in the first round, late first round that is, or early second round. So if the Cowboys really like him, and they're like, hey, he's not going to be there with our second round pick, but it might be a bit of a reach, but we value him here, they might just stick and pick. And for me, at least, I would not be upset if the pick was Edgerrin Cooper. You're getting a guy that's going to fit in with Mike Zimmer's defense. You're going to get a guy that's going to pair alongside Micah Parsons very well in terms of you getting a true middle linebacker that's reliable. And look, we also have to keep in mind there are other names being floated around in the rumor mill that actually have some traction. We're hearing a guy like Peyton Wilson, the other linebacker in this class. Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle. I would feel uneasy with these selections, but these are names to also keep in mind as we're getting closer to the draft. But with that, we're going to move over to the next prospect that we take in this particular mock draft, knowing with how the Cowboys are approaching this offseason. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into our next selection.
And here comes the pick.
the Dallas Cowboys select
Jonathan Brooks, running back, Texas. Talk about as on-brand can get with these Dallas Cowboys, using their second-round pick to go after a hurt guy who got hurt late into the college football season, but because the team doctors worked on the surgery, it quells any issues when it comes to the injury history of the prospect, and because of how much potential they have, it justifies the pick, given with the fact that they weren't supposed to be there if they weren't injured. Sounds pretty familiar to a couple other guys that we've taken before, but I digress. I'm not going to lie, Jonathan Brooks is an intriguing prospect in this particular draft cycle. The injury that he sustained really puts into question what he can do at the NFL level if it derailed him early. Now that's being very, very pessimistic, but the upside is tremendous. You're getting a guy that has home run ability. On top of that, plenty of other positives to go alongside him being a 3-down back. We talked about him a ton in other mock drafts, so I would recommend you go check out those for more detail. But with you taking Jonathan Brooks and considering the injury that he sustained, you also have to be prepared that this guy might not be ready for the start of the 2024 season. Now, I would go somewhere else if it were this pick, trust me. But I'm trying to put my Cowboy hat on and thinking, what would the front office do? And this would definitely be a Cowboy pick. So, what you need to do is if you are taking Jonathan Brooks, you need to add another veteran running back here into the running back room. Because how Brooks likes to run the football, he is going to decrease his longevity with how he likes to run the football. And typically with how the Cowboys do things, with guys that are early round selections, they try to look at these guys as 5 to 8 year contributors. And for me, when it comes to the running back position, I'm not a fan of paying these guys a whole lot of money. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys envisioned Brooks as a guy that can be around for a decent amount of time. So, they should take the approach like the Titans did with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. You get a veteran that can carry a decent amount of the load while giving the rookie minimal snaps so that they don't get overused. And then, as he's getting his legs underneath of him, you give the reins to the rookie. That's how I think the Cowboys should do things. Now again, whether this would be a good pick or not, I don't know. I think that this is just a gamble pick. I'm not a fan of using gamble picks in days 1 and 2. Day 3, I don't really care what you do. But to me, not a fan of utilizing a second round pick on a guy where we're not sure if he's going to be ready to go. And the Cowboys really like to stretch out the truth when it comes to injuries. Again, fantastic prospect with potential, that being Jonathan Brooks. But the injury, don't know how that's going to hinder him, especially with how we've handled ACL injuries. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to our final pick.
And here comes the pick.
The Dallas Cowboys select
Cooper Beebe, guard, Kansas State. The Cowboys finish off this mock draft by taking a guard in round 3 to provide some stability on the offensive line and a guy that can emerge as a quality starter on the line for 4 years. To me, the Cowboys need to add to this offensive line, whether that be round 1 or later. They need to add some guys into the room. You losing 2 starters is not a good sign. And sure, you can play musical chairs with this offensive line all you want, but I'm not a fan of just settling with what I got. If there's a guy there that can be better than what you have, or just as good, you need to start adding that into the room. If you make this move, to me, it's going to be Tyler Smith, then it's going to be Cooper Beebe, a competition at center between Bass and Hoffman, Martin, and then Terrence Steele. Also, this move protects you in 2025 for the possibility that Zach Martin retires. You can just slide in TJ Bass at right guard and call it a day. I would still think the Cowboys would need to do a lot more work in 2025 pertaining to what would happen to the roster, particularly the offensive line. But the Cowboys can't afford to not take an offensive lineman in this draft for depth purposes or finding a starter purposes. It doesn't matter. You need to get some guys in this room. If you don't do anything, that's going to be a big problem because right now you have nothing. So to me, you get a guy in Cooper Beebe who I really love in this draft process. On day 2, you get a solid starter over there at left guard, and you're able to really keep this offensive line chugging along without having to expend a first-round pick on the offensive line. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but if you can get quality starters with lesser picks, that's great. So that's how we finish this mock draft, ladies and gentlemen. By all means, down below, tell me what you guys think about if the Cowboys did this, what would you grade it? Would this be how I would do things? No. But we're going to try and put that Cowboy hat on, think like them, and see how things go. Try to put that down below what you think the Cowboys will do, but also what you would do in the comment section below. I will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.